Hi class, welcome to the next module, which is 4.1 citrus arthropods. We're going to cover two different insects in this section, the Asian citrus psyllid, which is abbreviated to ACP, and the citrus root weevil. The Asian citrus psyllid, or Diphrina citri, is a very important critter to know about if you're growing backyard citrus for a number of reasons, and we'll walk you through it. It, first of all, vectors the bacterial disease citrus greening. That's a really bad problem here in southeast Louisiana, especially in Orleans and Jefferson parishes. We're seeing a lot of this in backyard trees, so pay attention to this section. The adults are very small and measure 3 to 4 millimeters in length. The female psyllid lays a bright orange colored egg, and we've got some good pictures of both the psyllid, the nymphs, and the eggs coming up, so you'll know how to recognize them. The eggs hatch, and yellow immature psyllids feed on the new growth and suck the cell sap. Immature psyllids go through 5 different phases of growth, called instars, and nymphs produce a white waxy tubule from the posterior end to direct honeydew away from their bodies. So as they're feeding on that sap, they're digesting it and they're excreting honeydew. Asian citrus psyllids have piercing, sucking mouth parts. That's so that they can pierce into the leaf and into the cell itself and suck that material back out. They feed on the citrus leaves at a 45-degree angle. That's something to really look out for. If you see a bunch of these things feeding, they're always going to be at that 45-degree angle position. Their feeding causes twisting and distortion of the leaves and also causes leaf notching, and we've got a good photo of that coming up as well. And black sooty mold may appear where these things have been active. And again, that black sooty mold grows on the honeydew that the insects are secreting. Under favorable conditions, Asian citrus psyllids can complete up to 30 life cycles per year. So they can really explode and increase in population very quickly, given favorable conditions and a food source. Ants will actually protect the Asian citrus psyllid nymphs. They'll actually farm the nymphs and collect the honeydew that they're secreting and use that to feed their own colonies. So the ants are actually working as farmers, and they'll protect those psyllids from any predatory insects. Systemic insecticides containing imidacloprid labeled for citrus trees can be used as a soil drench to control Asian citrus psyllids, and this is one of the most effective ways of controlling them for our area. Foliar applications of horticulture oils and insecticidal soaps may provide some control as well, but they're usually not as effective as a systemic control. So what does it look like? This is the Asian citrus psyllid. Over here we've got an adult, and you can see it's perched on that leaf at the classic 45-degree angle position. On this larger section on the left, you can see the adults feeding up above. There's nymphs on the new growth, and you can see these waxy white tubules where they're secreting that honeydew material as they're feeding. The eggs are somewhat lemon-shaped. They're orange and yellow, and they're stuck to the plants themselves. And you can see these nymphs. We've got a good slide of them coming up as well. They're kind of a bright yellow with two red eye spots. This final section here shows the classic leaf notching from feeding activity. And here are those nymphs. They look very crazy. They do go through 5 different instars, getting progressively larger with each instar before emerging as an adult. This is an updated map of Louisiana showing the quarantine regions for the Asian citrus psyllid. Now, we're going to talk about citrus greening in an upcoming module, and you'll notice that the 2 ranges don't overlap quite perfectly. The Asian citrus psyllid has not vectored greening into several parishes, even though it's present. Next up is the citrus root weevil, Diapapres abbreviatus, known as the sugarcane rootstock borer, citrus root weevil, or West Indian weevil. So this insect will actually attack other species other than citrus, including the sugarcane. Adult beetles feed on leaves, and they also notch the leaves in a semicircular fashion. We've got some good photos coming up to show you the feeding damage. The feeding from adult beetles does not do any harm to the mature trees. So if you see the adults, that's really not what you need to worry about. You don't need to spray the canopy of the tree. What you need to worry about is the grubs in the soil in the root zone. The feeding from the weevil can actually kill the tree if those populations are large enough. Root injury caused by weevil larvae of the citrus root weevil provides an infection site for foot or root rot caused by Phytophthora, and we're going to cover that in the disease modules. Female weevils lay their eggs between two leaves and glue them together with a kind of gelatinous glue material. Newly emerged larvae do not feed on the leaves, but they drop down into the soil and bury themselves into the root zone, and they feed on those roots. Larvae are grub-shaped and they're creamy white in color. As the larvae molt and grow, they become very aggressive feeders, so they're very, very active when they're feeding on the root material. They can damage the entire root system of a mature tree very quickly. The mature larvae pupate from the soil 2 to 4 weeks before the adults emerge. Controlling the adults is a way of breaking this life cycle, and 2 options are available to homeowners. You've got pyrethroids and you've got carbamates, and both of those are off-the-shelf products. You can control the larva with a systemic insecticide containing imidacloprid as a soil drench, but not during bloom. And we don't want to apply that material during bloom times because it can get into honeybees as they're pollinating those flowers. So we want to avoid that and time our applications so that the blooms are finished. There are 2 species of nematodes, beneficial nematodes, which are soil microorganisms that are like miniature worms that will actually control and attack that citrus root weevil. And these are available online from different labs. Here we've got pictures of both the adult and the weevil larva. And the adult is actually a fairly attractive insect. It's got orange and black stripes. It's got a little iridescence as well. But those weevil larvae are white and grub-like. And you won't see these unless you dig into the root zone of your tree. We're going to cover a little bit more about the diseases that both these insects impact with our citrus trees in future modules. Be sure to post any questions to the discussion board.